The Pam Goodwin Show is a show that features the biggest names in television, successful entrepreneurs, future new talents, and local heroes. Have you thought about inventing a product? Our next two guests will share their story of stress to success. Welcome, Julie Weldon and Stacey Pierce. I am thrilled to have our next guest, Julie Weldon and Stacey Pierce, to tell their story. They have been on the road. Welcome, ladies, to the Pam Goodwin Show.
Thank you.
It's an honor to be here, Pam. We have a lot of respect for you. So thank you for the invite.
Yes.
Thank you. I know we have a mutual friend out there, Amy Fish, that, we had margaritas together and talked. And I was just so impressed with your story of how you quit your corporate America jobs, bought an RV, and went on the road, promoting your brand. And I would love to tell, the audience of how you got started and really how you had the courage to do that.
You want to start?
I don't know if it's called courage or, well, it's mostly your story. So let's you start it.
All right. So 23 years ago, my mom and dad had an idea. They were sitting on the beach in Bethany Beach, Delaware, and they watched a single mom coming off of the beach with three kids. And the mom it was miserable. You could just tell. So they went up into their condo and napkin sketched out this big lounger that flipped up the other way into a cart. And they got it patented, tried to take it to market. And that was before Google. And so it was a lot harder to take an invention to market. Not that it's not hard now, it is. But yeah, so it just really sat on the shelf for 12 years. And then, like you mentioned, I was working in corporate America for one of the largest consulting firms, and honestly got tired of working 80 hours a week for somebody else. And so at 1:30 in the morning, where the best ideas come, or the craziest ideas, I thought of my dad's invention. And I said, gosh, I wonder if I could do that. So I called him up, and at 8:30, I remember, those like monumental moments you remember to the like nth detail. And so it was 8:30 in the morning. I called him up and I said, hey, Dad, what would you think about me trying to redesign your product and take it to market? And my dad is hands down one of my heroes. And so he started crying and said, honey, that would be a dream come true. You can have everything. I'll give you the patent and everything. And so he did. And so then I ended up, I was just smart enough to think I could do this and just dumb enough to think I could do it. It's just kind of like that fine line. And so I went in to one of my colleagues and shared the idea with him. And he said, well, Jules, how much research have you done? And he was a mentor of mine. And I said, well, I think I've done as much as I know how to do. And he said, well, what's out there like it? I said, there's nothing out there like it. And he said, well, I think you're onto something. So I left, came back the next day and said, John, what would you think about being my business partner? And he said yes, to my surprise. As a mentor of mine, I thought that was amazing. And he still is a dear, dear friend of mine. But we ended up pitching one of our clients with this consulting firm to be our contract manufacturer. And they liked the idea so much that they said, well, we would like to buy 60% of your company it was just a concept. And so we got a nice big check and became employees of them and started taking the product to market. But 6 months in, we realized it was not a good marriage. Our values did not align. And we saw that. Stacey always says, give somebody 6 months to show you they're crazy. Anybody can like hide their crazy for 6 months, but
it works.
But yeah, 6 months in, I was like, oh my gosh, what have I partnered with? And so ended up a year or two later, ended up walking away from that. They dissolved that company in 2018. But in 2017, Stacey and I were like, man, nobody has taken this idea. What if we completely redesign it, get all new patents, and go to market, in our opinion, the right way, staying true to our values, putting out a quality product. And we started shipping in March.
I kind of want to back up here a little bit. I'm going to jump in because when Jules left her own company back in 2014, she was broken. I mean, this was a dream that she was bringing to market for her. I mean, her parents, not there. It wasn't even their dream, but she had taken on as her dream but she wanted to do something on her own, and it was a perfect vessel to do that. And she was broken. So when she got home and we just was like, what are you going to do? I was still working for corporate America, and she's like, I don't know. And so what she did was go and work at the shrimp shack on Shem Creek, delving out shrimp for $10 an hour, going from a very nice high salary to $10 an hour, just for 9 months, just to we say it's heal her soul, because she was around salt of the earth kind of people. And it wasn't about the money. It was about the healing, and salt air and salt water is just, there's nothing like it. So, she really had to humble herself to come down to where she needed to heal and be okay to move forward in the next chapter of her life.
Yeah.
So is that how OME was created, by your love because you're both from Charleston, correct? So is that how the company started?
Well, her prior company, there was some roadblocks in the name. And so we really wanted it to be an outdoor product that anytime you needed to haul something and have a seat when you got there. So it could be camping, it could be fishing, it could go tailgating to children's soccer games. So it needed to be all encompassing, instead of just putting putting a roadblock in the name. So oceans plus mountains equals earth is what we came up with. So it's not just for the beach, even though it's a wonderful beach product, but it's also for camping, and it's also for anything else when you need to haul something and have a seat.
Yeah.
So your parents' invention of the Wanderer, I know a lot of people, first of all, women really have fear of, taking that corporate job. How do you go from corporate to, doing what you're doing? So what kind of tips do you have there's so many great ideas. There was a problem and you found a solution, but how do you tell people to get out of that fear and just, go for it like you two have done?
Gosh, that's a great question.
Yeah. I mean, it helps that we have each other and we have the support of each other. And a lot of people don't, or they, it's been hard. No, it was not an easy decision. We actually had we have a coaching consulting firm. And before I could leave my corporate job, we had to reach a certain number of clients, so we could focus on both of those companies at the same time. But I wouldn't say it was an easy decision, but we knew that we had to do it. We didn't really have a choice.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Like, I think and this sounds really crazy, but I think there's a calling on our lives that this is what we're supposed to do. And it doesn't always feel easy. As a matter of fact, a lot of times I want to walk away from it, or Stace wants to walk away from it. But like she said, because we have each other, there's this little thing it's pulling in the red wagon. So sometimes I need to just sit and ride in the red wagon, and then she does the same. And so to have each other is huge. But for those women or men who have an idea, the easiest thing is to just take one step forward. And then as if it's supposed to happen, the steps will continue to be taken. But yeah. And then I would say surround yourself with a group of people who can support you and encourage you and cheer for you when you win. A lot of people, when you win, have a hard time cheering because they wish that they were in that spot. But we have surrounded ourselves with a network of people that is honestly unlike any other, where they are our biggest advocates and cheerleaders. And so I would say, if they're thinking about it, have them call us and we'll make sure that that they've really thought through it.
I know I feel so many people are, it's so easy it's quick to quit. And I'm sure you've had plenty of sleepless nights, but I want to go back to, a lot of times people do not, things that stop them, it's because they don't have the money. And when I found out that you sold your house, to sacrifice, to hop in your RV named Olive, which I love. I mean, what was that like when you did all that? Was it a relief to have that, or was it scary, or how did you feel?
Well, we'll kind of back up. So we've been looking for funding since we started the business, and we cashed out all of our 401ks. Max, we did the what every entrepreneur does. You got to put it all out there, right? Um, and we looked for through COVID for funding, and no one would fund our company. We could not get an investor, and we prayed, and we're believers, so we prayed and prayed, and we're like, what do we need to do? And the only asset we had left was our home. And we were like, this was not, we say this was never a dream to live on an RV. This is not, we're two 50-year-old women. We were settled. We loved our little house in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. But we knew that that's what we had to do if we needed to move forward, because we couldn't find funding. And so in December of last year, in 2020, we just looked at each other and like, okay, we got to do this. We didn't decide we were going to get on an RV until we put the house up for market, because we were like, okay, what are we going to do? And we're like, well, my one of my friend's dad used to have this plaque, and it was an acronym, and it meant you can't sell freight sitting on your ass. And so we were like, okay, we need to get on the road, and we need to start promoting our own company. So the only way we can do this is in an RV. So it has been hard, to say the least. This was not by choice. We believe in our company this much, and this is what we need to do.
In 2010, if you would have told me all that I would have had to go through to be where I am today, I honestly don't think I would have done it. The way that we've been able to do it is one step at a time, mm-hmm. right? If I would have known, I was hospitalized because of stress, taken out of a restaurant on a stretcher, because of stress. And so the amount of stress that we have endured has been, beyond anything that I would have thought I could do. And so not an easy decision, but easy when it's just one decision at a time, or easier. And now that we're in the RV and we've started middle of May, we love it. It's home. It's like we miss Olive when we're away for a while. We just miss it, and we come back, and it really does feel like ours now, which is awesome.
And I can't wait to meet Olive when you're on your way back, because I believe you're in California now and stopping in Dallas. I have to see Olive. I wanted to ask you about funding. I know I read one of your articles, and I know this for a fact, but funding, as you mentioned, for women is something between 2% and 2.7%, which isn't that much. Why do you think there's the lack? Women have so many wonderful ideas. Why do you think there's the lack of funding? And then I want to find out, if you have any advice on how to get funding before we jump into, what happened last week to you.
Yeah. So I have a couple theories, and I don't know if any of them are right, but one of them is just the typical men are leaders, right? And so men are the ones that are out there asking for funding. I do think that's shifting, and I do think women entrepreneurs are very much on the rise. But I also think that of that 2.7%, 1.7 of it goes to women in tech. And so there's a whole almost 2% that goes to women in tech. But 1% of that left goes to women in the product space. And that includes apparel, food, all the kind of things that you would maybe typically think of for women. But I'm not sure, and I really would like to get to the bottom of this. I put a post out on LinkedIn to try to learn more about this, but is it because women are afraid to ask, or women don't know how to ask, or because women aren't in a stage in their company where they're comfortable dreaming big and asking for big numbers, asking to grow something? Like we're on a trajectory to grow a multi-million-dollar company within 3 to 5 years. And we're not stopping until we do. We've been through enough hurdles that we believe that we have what it takes to get there. And so we will get there in 3 to 5 years. But I just, a lot of the entrepreneurs that we know have smaller businesses and they don't need funding, right? Like we walked the Outdoor Retailer show and it is an industry of men. We walked specifically, and all the shows we go to, the National Hardware Show, the Outdoor Retailer Show, the Overland Expo, all these great shows that are perfect for our product. And we just walk around and meet other exhibitors, and you are hard pressed to find another woman that has invented a complex product like we have. So I think that's maybe part of the issue too, is women are a lot in the service industry, and so they don't need as much funding. So I don't know. I think it's multifaceted. Would you add anything to that?
I mean, I agree with you. I think one of our hurdles, and this is just on a personal hurdle, is that we are women in the outdoor gear space. We have 143 moving parts on our complex the Wander, and Jules was doing some sales calls the other day, and even women don't believe that women can be inventors like this. Yeah. And I'm not saying there aren't other women, cool inventors. I mean, we're two blondes that created this, so we're not engineers or anything. But Jules called and she asked to talk to someone in the camping space because she wanted to introduce our product. And she goes, "Oh, so you have apparel?" And it's even women think that women are only going to do apparel or baked goods or chapstick. And no, that's not. We have to break that barrier and jump those hurdles to say, no, we are women inventors that can do more than, and I can't even sew a button on. So I'm not saying anything about people in apparel because I can't even do that. So but there are other things out there that women can do other than apparel and cooking and those kind of, or even tech.
And I guess the other quick story just to highlight this is we were talking to someone in the industry, and she said that she was trying to find funding. I think it was $2 million she was trying to find. She couldn't find it. was like for a year was trying to find this funding. She made up a fictitious guy in her company named Paul. And Paul reached out to people. Within 2 weeks, they had somebody able for $2 million. So if that doesn't highlight it for you, I don't know what does.
Paul got fired right after that.
Paul couldn't come to the meeting, but I just think it's where we are. But one of the biggest reasons our product is a product, right? We're really proud of it, but it is for us, it is very much a quote unquote means to an end. We want to build a platform for influence. We want to build a platform for women. We want to build a platform for inventors. And we want to really become spokespeople to help other people navigate the hurdles that we have, a lot like Joy Mangano has. And so she's been, if you know her, she's inventor of the Miracle Mop and the pillow, and she just has 100, I think, patents. But she has been sort of a role model for us, where we heard a podcast and she had so many no's, and that's what we've gotten. We have gotten, I cannot even tell you, it's definitely more fun to talk about this over cocktails, but she got so many no's, and we did too. But it's just one yes that keeps you going, right? And we've gotten those yeses at the right time, the little drips where it's like, okay, we're on to something.
Yeah, that keeps you going as an entrepreneur. And my motto is find a way and never give up. And I know you two can live by those too. So I want to talk about last week. I know we were in Nashville together, and it was a fabulous event. And then right after that, you appeared on America's Big Deal. I'd like to find out how you were able to get that, the Shark Tank and a lot of these shows. If you can talk about how and what happened last week that may have changed your life.
Yeah, I think it did. I think it did change lives, actually. Why don't you tell the story?
Well, so we applied for the show, and because we've applied for Shark Tank, but we're not ready for Shark Tank. And so we heard about this show and we're like, okay. And we heard about the concept that Joy created this show to really highlight entrepreneurs. It wasn't Shark Tank. I think a lot of people leave and they get broken. And where Joy wanted to build up entrepreneurs and let people, give them a platform to tell their stories, tell the hardships. And so when we heard about it, we applied, and they came back and they told us no. And we said, okay, we understand why you're saying no, but here's why you need to say yes to us. And we weren't ready to give up, because we know Joy's story. We know that she had the no's, and she didn't have the people that believe in her, and she just kept believing. And they came back and they said, you know what, we think you deserve a chance. And so that's when we buckled in and went on this crazy ride of getting and being on the show. And
which is a really big deal, because thousands and thousands and thousands of people, entrepreneurs, applied for this show, and only a small handful, the ones that you see on the show, made it, and so for us to, I mean, I do think, and it's certainly not tooting our own horn, but I think it's because we're in this together, perseverance has been the key for us. But I think the other key for Stacey and I is the way that we build our network. When we meet somebody that we connect with, they become friends for life. And so, yeah, it's standing up on that stage was a surreal experience. I still, like, we look at each other and I feel like I'm still pinching myself, at least, not really Stace, but pinching myself to say, was this really real? Like, did this really happen? And the fact that we got a no, but yet we said, hold on a second, this is why we would ask you to reconsider. And they did. And so I think that's just a testament. We are like every other entrepreneur out there. We are nothing special. But we have a grit and a tenacity and a perseverance in us that we're not willing to take a no the first time it's given. Now, if they give it to us more than once, then we just become annoying pains in the neck. And so then we'll walk away.
Well, that's just called insanity.
Yeah. So
that's key on, you have to really believe in the product. And, I found that from my own personal experience too, if someone says no, just to keep going, find another way. You just have to keep at it. And I think that happens to so many entrepreneurs is they quit way too soon. And, with 7 billion people in the world, someone is going to help you. And that's what I love about you too, that you've collaborated together and you've reached all these different avenues, that you've never given up. And so I always have to ask my guests, now that you've won that show, what else is on your bucket list?
I mean, it's funny. People are like, what? People have asked that question since we've been on the show, and we're just right back in it. The next day we were back meeting with investors and everything. And our bucket list is to grow this and really grow it to, like Jules said, to build a platform so we can help other entrepreneurs. So we don't have to be one of those no's, that they can reach out and even if it's a small yes, that we can be able to help them. So, I mean, I think our biggest bucket is to build that platform. Now, if you're talking about like what other shows we want to be on, I mean, yours was one.
So check that off. Two really specific things for me though that I would like on my bucket list with this company. I mean, we have a whole bucket list personally together, but one of them is to be on How I Built This, that podcast, because that podcast has been so inspirational to me of listening to other entrepreneurs who had an idea and didn't give up. Every single one of them has a story of hardship that they have persevered through. And so many times as I go on a walk, I listen to that podcast, and it has been the inspiration, honestly, that's kept me going. And so to be on that show, telling our story in hopes of inspiring other people, man, it can make me emotional, is a bucket list item for me. The second thing is to meet Sarah Blakely. As you know, she just sold Spanx, or, a majority part of Spanx. And her story is the same. You see her pictures in her living room, boxing up Spanx and cutting off hose and fighting for her idea in a male-dominated industry. And she has been another, meeting Joy, and Joy looking at us and saying, when we won, she came up to us, hugged us, and said, "Your lives will never be the same." That moment was a bucket list moment, right? Because this woman who we admire and have admired for so long, looking us in the eyes, hugging us, saying that was like, what is happening right now? But Sarah Blakely is another one who has been a pioneer for women entrepreneurs and inventors. And so those are two top of mind that come to my mind.
Well, I wanted to tell you, Sarah Blakely is number one on my list too. So if I get her, I'll invite you to. And then if you get hers to something, you can invite me, and we'll on a mission, the three of us.
Perfect.
I'm sure there's someone in our combined network that knows her we can figure this out.
Yeah, we'll make it happen. I love that. Well, I'm so excited. The Wanderer, you can order it online, correct? And now it's going to be made in the USA. So if you could tell our viewers where you can get the Wanderer, so when they're out there camping or at the beach, it's the perfect chair to get to haul all of your stuff.
Yeah. So the Wanderers, it's a 5-in-1. So just in case viewers are like, what is it? So it's a cart that hauls all your stuff, and then it easily transforms into a high camping chair, a low beach chair, a fully reclinable lounge chair, and a camping cot. And if you buy the accessory straps, you can haul multiple surfboards, multiple kayaks, multiple paddle boards. It really is the all-in-one hauler that also transforms into other very useful things. So I wanted to make sure viewers knew, or listeners knew, what that was. But you tell them where they can find it.
So you can go to our website at omegear.com, and there it is. And it comes in 6 different colors, so you can choose what color you want. And we have a few accessories and some apparel. So we do make apparel too. We don't make it.
Yeah, since you can't sew a button on, right?
That's right.
I'm right there with you. And I know it was so wonderful that you made a special pink one for our Kiss Breast Cancer Goodbye event in Nashville. So thank you so much for doing that. But I just love both of you. You're a huge inspiration of never giving up, finding a way. And thank you so much for being on the show.
Wow, what an honor. Thank you so much, time flew by, as it always does with you. Thank you for the invite.
All right. Thanks a lot, Jules. Thanks, Stacey. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks, Pam.